There is a car on sale right now for under $24,000 that comes standard with adaptive cruise control, a 12-inch touchscreen, and driver assist tech that was a $3,000 luxury option a decade ago. Meanwhile, there's another car 20 minutes away on the same lot, wearing the same body style. That costs $10,000 more and gets you a 6-speed manual, a limited slip differential, and Brembo brakes. Same category, same compact sedan badge, completely different car. So we're going to spend the next several minutes putting 10 of 2026's best compact sedans through the ringer price, fuel economy, horsepower, tech, and how they actually feel to drive, to figure out which one deserves your money, and which ones are just good at marketing. Some of these results are obvious. A couple of them are going to make you question everything you thought you knew about boring sedans. Let's start at the bottom of the price list, because that's where this segment gets surprisingly interesting. The Kia K4 exists to make you ask an uncomfortable question. Why is everything else so expensive? At $23,535 to start, it is the single cheapest new sedan sold in America right now, full stop. And unlike cheap cars of the past, Kia didn't strip this thing down to a steering wheel and a prayer. The base LX trim comes with a 12.3-inch touchscreen, LED exterior lighting, and smart cruise control with stop-and-go functionality standard. Not an option package, not a trim 3 rungs up the ladder, base model. Then there's the back seat, 38 inches of rear legroom, tied for the best in the entire compact class. If you've ever crammed an adult into the back of a budget sedan and watched their knees fold up like a lawn chair, you understand why this matters. The K4 treats rear passengers like actual humans instead of cargo. So where's the catch? It's under the hood. Reviewers keep landing on the same word to describe the K4's powertrain options: laconic. That's a polite, thesaurus-approved way of saying it's slow, and worse, it's boring slow. There's no spark to the way it accelerates. No personality in this pedal. Kia clearly took the entire engineering budget and dumped it into the cabin and the tech stack, and left the engine bay to fend for itself. If you want a car that impresses your passengers and bores you into a nap on the interstate, the K4 delivers exactly that. It's an incredible ownership proposition and a forgettable driving one. But cheap and competent is only half the budget sedan equation, because this next car figured out how to be cheap and actually look like it wants to be there. For most of the last decade, the Nissan Sentra was the sedan people bought because it was there, not because they wanted it. Rental fleets loved it. Nobody else did. For 2026, Nissan tore that reputation up and started over. New sheet metal inside and out, a fresh 12.3-inch infotainment screen, and interior materials that no longer feel like they were sourced from a vending machine. At $23,845, it's still one of the cheapest sedans in America, just a few $100s behind the K4. And Nissan didn't cheap out on safety to get there. The entire Safety Shield 360 suite comes standard across the lineup, meaning automatic emergency braking, blind spot warning, and high beam assist aren't locked behind a paywall like they are at some competitors. Upper SL trims add a power sunroof, heated steering wheel, faux leather seats, and alloy wheels. And it still undercuts most of the competition on price. Here's the problem. The redesign fixed the way the Sentra looks and feels sitting still, but it didn't fix the way it drives. The base engine puts out 149 horsepower, and there's still no hybrid option anywhere in the lineup, in a segment where hybrid powertrains are quickly becoming the headline feature buyers actually care about. Nissan gave the Sentra a personality transplant on the outside and left the mechanical bits essentially untouched. It's proof that a car can go from forgettable to actually kind of stylish without becoming any more exciting to drive. If style for cheap is what you're after, the Sentra delivers it convincingly. But if the real prize in this segment is efficiency, there's a car that's been quietly running away with that title for years. The Toyota Corolla has one job, and it has done that job largely unchanged since roughly the dawn of time. At $24,420 to start, it delivers exactly what generations of Corolla buyers have come to expect. A reputation for reliability so strong it's practically a running joke. A comfortable and unfussy driving position. And, this might surprise you, a base engine that's actually punchier than most people give it credit for at 169 horsepower. Noticeably stronger on paper than several rivals on this list. The Corolla Hybrid pushes efficiency past 50 miles per gallon combined, putting it in direct competition with the Elantra Hybrid for fuel economy bragging rights. And it offers something almost nobody else in this segment does: optional all-wheel drive on the hybrid model. A genuine rarity for a compact car this size and this price. For buyers in snow country who still want hybrid fuel savings, that combination barely exists anywhere else on the market. The trade-off is obvious the moment you look at the dashboard. This generation of Corolla was last fully redesigned back in 2018, and while while it's received updates along the way, the tech interface and overall cabin feel noticeably behind newer competitors. Smaller screens, less intuitive software, fewer of the flourishes that make a 2026 car feel like a 2026 car. The Corolla isn't trying to wow you. It's the automotive equivalent of a reliable friend who shows up on time and never causes drama, and never once makes your pulse rise either, which is exactly the moment to stop and ask, are we even ranking these cars the right way? Let's talk about the numbers, because the Hyundai Elantra's numbers are, frankly, a little embarrassing for everyone else on this list. Starting at $23,870, the standard gas, Elantra already delivers 35 miles per gallon combined, the best fuel economy of any compact car sold in America, gas or otherwise, in its base configuration. Step up to the Elantra Hybrid, and that number climbs to as high as 54 miles per gallon combined. That's not a typo. And it's not a rounding trick. That's a number that puts some dedicated hybrid-only vehicles to shame, all wrapped in a car that costs barely more than the segment's cheapest entries. The interior is where the Elantra shows its budget origins. There's a lot of hard gray plastic in here, and reviewers are consistently, almost apologetically polite about it, calling it down market rather than outright bad. But everything you touch works the way it should. The back seat is enormous, on par with the class-leading K4, and the ride quality is smooth and composed even on the base model's smaller 15-inch wheels. There's also an Elantra N line for buyers who want a little more visual attitude without stepping all the way up to full performance trim, plus a genuinely quick Elantra N waiting in the wings that we'll get to later. If you're doing pure math, dollars spent per mile driven per gallon burned, nothing on this list touches the Elantra. It is, unambiguously, the value and efficiency champion of the compact sedan world in 2026. But here's the thing about pure math. It doesn't account for how a car makes you feel behind the wheel, and that's about to become a much bigger part of this conversation. Here's the twist, because up until now, every single chapter of this video has been about the same three things: price, miles per gallon, and horsepower on a spec sheet. That's a perfectly reasonable way to rank a budget appliance. It is a completely inadequate way to rank a car that's supposed to make your commute enjoyable. Specs tell you what a car can do. They tell you nothing about what it feels like to sit in one, and that's exactly the gap the Mazda 3 exists to exploit. At $25,885, the Mazda 3 isn't the cheapest car here, and it's not chasing that title. It's chasing something almost nobody else on this list bothers with: a genuinely upscale feeling interior, soft touch materials, a rotary infotainment dial that Mazda refuses to abandon even as everyone else goes full touchscreen, an available 12-speaker Bose sound system. This is a cabin that gets mistaken for something costing $10,000 more on a fairly regular basis in comparison tests, and it's the only sedan on this entire list available with all-wheel drive, a genuine practical advantage if you live anywhere that sees real winter. Step up to the turbocharged engine option, and the Mazda 3 stops being merely pleasant and starts being genuinely quick, enough performance to embarrass some of these sporty trims from other brands on this list. The trade-offs are real though. The back seat is tight compared to the class-leading Elantra and K4, and the touchscreen and infotainment logic takes some real adjustment if you're coming from anything else. But once you introduce how does this feel to actually drive as a category, the Mazda 3 rockets up the rankings in a way the spec sheet alone. The Volkswagen Jetta's entire sales pitch can be summarized in one sentence: German road manners at a price that doesn't require a German salary. At $25,270 to start, you get a turbocharged 1.5-liter engine, a trunk that measures a genuinely generous 14.1 cubic feet, bigger than several rivals here, and a driving character that reviewers consistently describe as composed, planted, and more mature feeling than the price tag would suggest. This isn't a car that's trying to dazzle you with screens or chase you down with notifications about tech features. It's a car built around the quieter idea that a well-sorted chassis and a settled ride matter more day-to-day than a flashy spec sheet. And for a certain kind of buyer, someone who wants their commute to feel calm rather than exciting, that's precisely the appeal. The trade-offs are starting to show their age though. The Jetta's cabin, while solid, is beginning to feel a step behind the newest entries on this list in terms of tech and design flair. And in a move that stung enthusiasts, Volkswagen dropped the manual transmission option from the standard Jetta lineup entirely, leaving it available only on the higher performance GLI trim for buyers who still want to row their own gears. The Jetta plays it safe and composed when everyone around it is getting louder and more aggressive, which, depending on what you want from a car, is either its biggest weakness or its most underrated strength. But speaking of getting louder, we're about to hit the car that's dominating this segment on every measurable front at once. If this were a simple point-counting exercise, the Honda Civic would already be running away with this list, and the numbers explain exactly why. Starting at $25,745, the Civic offers a hybrid powertrain rated at an EPA estimated 50 miles per gallon combined, putting it in a dead heat with the segment's dedicated efficiency champions, while still being widely regarded by outlets across the industry as the most engaging non-performance compact sedan to actually drive. It has landed on Car and Driver's 10 Best list a record 12 times, a streak no other nameplate on this entire list comes close to matching. The interior is the detail that keeps coming up unprompted in review after review. A clean, honeycomb textured dashboard, tactile surfaces that punch above the car's price point, and a 9-inch touchscreen on higher trims running Google built in for seamless navigation and voice control. Every Civic, regardless of trim, comes standard with the full Honda Sensing Safety Suite, adaptive cruise control, lane centering assist, and traffic jam assist. No upsell required. So what's the catch? Genuinely, there isn't a big one. The closest thing to a real complaint you'll find in the professional reviews is that it costs a bit more to get into than the segment's rock-bottom options like the K4 or Sentra. That's it. That's the flaw. When the harshest criticism a car receives is it's not quite the cheapest one. That tells you almost everything you need to know about how dominant this car has become in its segment. But dominant at doing everything reasonably isn't the same as being the most exciting car here. And if what you actually want is thrills, not balance, the next 3 cars exist specifically for you. Let's say you don't want sensible. Let's say you want to feel something every time you leave a stoplight. The Civic Si exists for exactly that buyer, and it makes no apologies about it. Starting at $31,495, the Si pairs a 200 horsepower turbocharged 1.5-liter engine with a 6-speed manual transmission as the only transmission offered. There's no automatic option to fall back on, and that's very much the point. Underneath, there's a helical limited slip differential doing real work, letting the front wheels put power down through a corner instead of just spinning and hoping. It's been honored on Car and Driver's 2026 10 Best list in its own right, praised specifically for its athletic handling and genuinely fun-to-drive character. A car engineered for people who care as much about the process of driving as the destination. The trade-offs here are exactly what you'd expect from a car built around passion instead of practicality. It costs meaningfully more than the standard Civic. Fuel economy takes a real hit compared to the hybrid model. And if you've never learned to drive a manual or simply don't want to relearn it in daily traffic, this car isn't for you. Full stop. No substitutions available. It's the last genuinely analog driving experience left in this price range in an industry that's rapidly automating everything else away. For the shrinking number of buyers who still want to do the shifting themselves, nothing else on this list even attempts to compete. If the Civic Si is a scalpel, precise and surgical, the Elantra N is a sledgehammer with a warranty. It takes the same humble Elantra shell we talked about earlier, the one praised for sipping fuel at 54 miles per gallon, and stuffs it with 276 horsepower, more than double what the base Elantra produces, aimed squarely at taking down hot hatch royalty like the Civic Type R. What makes the Elantra N stand out isn't just the power figure, it's that Hyundai backs it with the same class-leading warranty coverage as the rest of the lineup, which means the extra performance doesn't come bundled with the usual extra ownership anxiety that scares buyers away from high-strung performance cars. It's genuinely engaging to drive, loud in every sense of the word, and makes zero attempt to pretend it still cares about fuel economy. That's really the whole story here. If the standard Elantra and the Elantra Hybrid are about saving money every time you fill up, the Elantra N exists purely to spend that saved money as loudly and enthusiastically as possible. It's proof that the same basic platform underneath a $23,870 commuter car can also produce a genuine performance machine, if the engineers are given the budget and the freedom to go a little unreasonable. And speaking of unreasonable, there's one more car on this list that decided compact sedan didn't mean it couldn't compete with cars costing twice as much. Every list like this needs one car that exists purely to remind you what compact actually means when a luxury brand decides to compete in the space, and that car is the Genesis G70. Every single G70 in its most basic trim comes standard with a 300 horsepower turbocharged engine and genuine Brembo high-performance brakes, not an option box to check. Not an upsell hidden 3 trims deep, just standard equipment from the very first key you're handed. Step up to the available twin-turbo V6 and output climbs to 365 horsepower, numbers that would have been supercar territory not that long ago, now sitting in a compact four-door sedan. The interior matches the ambition: genuine leather seating surfaces, a 10.25-inch navigation touchscreen, and a digital climate control center that makes the G70's cabin feel like it belongs several rungs higher on the price ladder than compact sedan typically suggests. Yes, it costs considerably more than everything else on this list. There's no getting around that. But the comparison Genesis is actually chasing isn't the Civic or the Elantra. It's the German luxury sedans that cost thousands more for similar performance and materials. And reviewer after reviewer keeps concluding that the G70 wins that fight outright. It's the reminder, sitting at the very end of this list, that compact was never actually a ceiling on ambition. It was just a starting point. So, after all 10 of these, which one actually deserves your money? The honest answer is, it depends entirely on what you're optimizing for. Because these 10 cars aren't really competing in one race. They're competing in at least 4 different ones at the same time. If pure value is your priority, lowest price, most tech per dollar, biggest backseat, the Kia K4 wins outright. No real argument. If running costs and fuel economy are what keep you up at night, the Hyundai Elantra Hybrid's 54 miles per gallon rating beats literally everything else on this list, and it isn't particularly close. If you want a genuine driver's car and you're willing to pay and shift for it, the Civic Si and the Elantra N will outthrill anything else here. Full stop. They're just built for a completely different kind of buyer. And if money genuinely isn't the constraint, the Genesis G70 will make you question why you ever considered paying luxury brand prices for a luxury brand badge in the first place. But if you're asking the single hardest question, which one car does the most, things well while asking you to compromise on the least, the answer is the Honda Civic. It's not the cheapest, it's not the most powerful, and it's not the most luxurious. It's just the one with no real weakness anywhere on the list, which, in a segment this competitive, turns out to be the rarest quality of all.